And hi, everybody. Sorry about the delay. We're 7 minutes late on the promised 5 o'clock start. I think I was having some connectivity issues, but that, of course, is the way of the world, the technological way of the world. Meteorologist Joe Rayo here from the home base here in Putnam Valley. And we're talking to you on a day which turned out to be not quite as mild, in fact, nowhere near as mild as what we had yesterday. Yesterday here, we had 73 degrees. Last check, we had about 60, 61, which isn't bad. I mean, like, come on now. We're getting spoiled for this time of the year. Normally, the high temperature in and around the lower Hudson Valley at this particular time of the year should only be around 46 to 51. And here I'm saying that we only got to 60 or 61 today. Yesterday, as I said, 73 lovely degrees. Not quite so lovely today. We had a lot of clouds up there. And as you can see on your screen right now, we have the latest radar view. Please take note of the fact that at the moment, we don't have much to show you here in the immediate lower Hudson Valley, aside from a stray shower or two. There is a line of shower activity over in western and west central Pennsylvania. And that line, if it continues to move at its current pace, should be moving through our area in about 4 or 5 hours. In fact, we have a kind of a lead system right ahead of it. There, the Alan Casper Pittsburgh rule. Pittsburgh's right about here, and here's where we are. Pittsburgh rule says anything in the Pittsburgh area will get to us in about 8 hours. So we're looking at something that's going to be arriving here probably in about 6 or 7 hours. I'm doing this now at about 5:09 in the afternoon. So 6 or 7 hours should make it up to about midnight. And then thereafter, notice, if you will, behind this line, there's nothing. It's nice and dry. So why don't we just say that for the evening hours, a few showers around, in and around our area. And then after midnight, the shower threat will end or peter out, followed by a clearing trend after midnight and toward daybreak. And that should put us in line for a brighter and drier day for your Wednesday. Take a little swig here for a moment. Wet my whistle. And talk about what we can anticipate in the days to come. So we have our view here of the radar. Let's move on to our next graphic, and that will be the GFS, the prog that shows you what is coming our way for the next several days to come. I'm going to move it a little bit over here. There we go. And Lordy, I have to get used to the to doing this with a camera. I don't have what Joe Chiappi has, an OBS system, at least not just yet. But I think you can pretty well see what we have here on the screen. We have the GFS projection. This is for way ahead in the future. Let me go back a ways. It's so wonderful that I can move things along so quickly. Here we go. So this is the map for. I should say now we're on daylight saving time, right? So this is for 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can see the back edge of the precipitation pretty well is exiting off to our east. Dry air building in behind. So we're looking at an improving weather pattern, as I said, after midnight tonight. By 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, it should be pretty well clear. We'll have a fair amount of sunshine. Temperatures are going to be by daybreak on the chillier side as opposed to the last couple of nights. The last couple of nights we've had amazingly mild temperatures. Very hard pressed to make it much below the mid and low 40s. But tonight, valley spots north and west will be down maybe within a degree or two of freezing, 33, 34 degrees. Coastal and urban locations will be in the lower 40s. So we'll have ourselves a chillier night ahead. Again, few showers this evening, then skies will go into a clearing mode later tonight after midnight and set the stage for a bright and sunny start on your Wednesday. Then as we move through Wednesday, the first half of the day I think will be dry with no problems. It'll be dry in the second half of the day tomorrow during the afternoon. The thing is, though, I think we're going to be seeing some clouds move in later tomorrow and into tomorrow evening. I don't think we're going to see any precipitation, however. It'll just be a little band of clouds that are going to be moving through late tomorrow and into tomorrow night. And then things will start to clear out a bit after midnight tomorrow night. And then as we move into Thursday, a partly sunny and more seasonal day. As I said, generally speaking, at this time of the year, the high is in the afternoon hours around 45 to 50 or 46 to 51. We're looking for a high near 50 degrees on your Thursday. A cooler day, a bit cooler than what we'll see tomorrow coming our way for Thursday. But again, partly sunny, some sun, some clouds, no real weather problems. Then as we move into Friday, we're going to be seeing another weather front, a cold front approaching from the west, and also we'll have a warm front pressing up from the south. The combination of this warm front to our south and this cold front coming in from the west is going to bring, as you can well see, some wet weather, some showers. I think we're going to begin seeing wetness arrive here probably sometime, I would say, late on Thursday evening. Say, the way I've got it timed out here, maybe 9, 10, 11 o'clock on Thursday night. It'll start to rain or shower, continue into the first half of Friday. We'll have to wait until this cold front moves through our area. That won't be until midday or early afternoon on Friday. So if you're going out on Friday, heading out to work or school, you will be finding yourselves needing an umbrella. Not a whole heck of a lot of rain, not a tremendous amount of rain, but probably a few tenths of an inch. And this will last again up until about midday and early afternoon on Friday. And then will begin to dry out after the front moves by. The winds will kick over into a northwesterly direction, drying us out and beginning to clear us out by later on Friday. So, whereas on Friday, when you start off on Friday morning, it'll be cloudy, we'll have wet weather, we'll have some rain and shower activity. By the end of the day Friday, and of course now the sun doesn't set until after or around 7 o'clock, maybe by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, we'll start seeing breaks in the clouds, some developing sunshine, drying out, clearing out, and that should lead us into a nice clear night on Friday night and a nice start to the upcoming weekend on Saturday. Now, Friday, as this cold front moves on through, we'll briefly get into a southerly airflow. I think that on Friday, we're going to see temperatures jump. So whereas we'll be close to 50 on Thursday, on Friday, we're going to be up near 60 degrees, warming up as we move on into the end of the week. And then we'll see a decline in the temperatures as we go on into the weekend. The weekend right now, sunshine giving way to some late day clouds on Saturday, and Sunday should be clouds giving way to developing sunshine. Temperatures both weekend days, probably, well, temperatures on Saturday. Saturday will be the milder, I think, of the 2 weekend days in the lower 50s, and then upper 40s to near 50 when we get to Sunday. Now, interestingly, when we get to Saturday night into Sunday, we're looking at snow. No, not here, but off to the south and west of our area, we're going to be seeing, there we go. Can you see over in the view over toward western sections of Pennsylvania, around the Pittsburgh area, actually? You can see that streak of blue. This is snow. Down here is some wet weather in the form of some rain. Now you're saying to yourself, well, where's that coming from? There's going to be a little storm system down here over the Tennessee River Valley, the lower Ohio Valley. That system is going to be angling off to the east during the late night hours of Saturday into Sunday. Now, my goodness, look at this. We have snow that, if the GFS is correct, will make it into the lower half of Pennsylvania, maybe into extreme southern sections of New Jersey, northern sections of Virginia. Snow. We haven't seen much of that, have we? Oh, this winter season. And you say to yourself, now here's where we are. This again is Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Here's where that line of snow is. You'd say to yourself, well, are we going to see some snow maybe here during the day on Sunday? Maybe midday Sunday or Sunday afternoon? And what happens? Look what happens to that snow when we get to Sunday midday and Sunday evening. As we move things along from 8 a.m. on Sunday, here we go. 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. There still is some snow falling over southern Pennsylvania, maybe up into the lower part of the state, perhaps into Amish country down here around the Harrisburg area. Nothing really happening over in southern New Jersey, and nothing happening here. In fact, after a rather cloudy start, perhaps on Sunday, we'll see more in the way of sunshine developing during midday on Sunday. And there you go. What happened? All of that precipitation, all of that snow that was just off a stone's throw to our south and west on Sunday morning just gets suppressed and pushed away to our south during Sunday afternoon and on into Sunday night. No snow for us. This is the way it's been for all of this winter. We seem to find new ways to avoid snow. I'll show you why on the upper air map in just a moment, why we're not going to see anything in terms of precipitation, any snow or rain here on Sunday. As we continue to move along and high pressure is building over New England, it's a chillier day on Sunday compared to Saturday with temps in the upper 40s. Then mainly sunny skies for Monday of next week, with Monday's high probably again somewhere in the mid to upper 40s, seasonable for this time of the year. Next chance for any wet weather probably will come our way along about Tuesday of next week. A week from now, Tuesday, we see some rain and shower activity here, which may actually linger into the middle of next week on Wednesday. But it's all rain, no snow. And then we'll dry out and probably cool off a bit later on next week. In fact, let's back up a little bit here. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon next Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day. I guess it's only appropriate or apropos that we have green here. That green, of course, is depicting wet weather in the form of rain and showers. So right now, and again, things can change. It's a week from now, but right now it looks like St. Patrick's Day 2020 will be wet. And if you are planning to march in the big parade in Manhattan, this is what, the 200 and I've lost count already, 214th maybe annual St. Patrick's Day parade in New York. You may need an umbrella because it may be a little bit on the wet side come our way for next Tuesday. It may actually warm up a bit. These showers are going to be generated by a warm front, so temperatures may jump back into the 50s on Tuesday of next week, but it may also be, as you can see, a bit on the wet side in the form of rain and showers. Now, I heard today on the news that Boston has canceled its St. Patrick's Day parade because of the situation regarding the coronavirus problem. And I'm not sure whether or not New York is going to do that. Right now, the New York parade is still on tap to go next week, but we'll see how that all pans out. For those of you who are watching carefully events in the world and nationally here in terms of the coronavirus. And of course, I guess you could say the epicenter is in Westchester County around New Rochelle, which is where the most coronavirus reports have been coming from, or people who apparently have the virus. We're all hoping that things will improve in the coming days and weeks with the virus. But right now, as I said, New York St. Patrick's Day parade 1 week from now still on, and we'll see whether or not it stays in place and stays on the roster for occurrence next week. Again, as I said, Boston and even in Dublin in Ireland, because of the virus, those parades have been canceled, but not yet in New York. But next week in New York, again, it may be a little wet for the parade. We'll see how that all plays out. Now, this is the upper air for the 500 millibar level, 18,000 feet above our heads, the jet stream winds, which as of this evening are almost what we call zonals, flat, straight, west to east across the region. And as we move along here, as I said, we are going to be seeing some changes. We have a little bit of a ripple in the atmosphere that may bring us some cloud cover later tomorrow and into tomorrow night. Then the jet stream flattens out again. We're back to dry weather for Thursday. And then as we move on into Friday, again, a bit of wetness coming our way, mainly during Thursday night into early Friday. As this bend in the atmosphere, there's a closed low that's over toward James Bay. And this bend that you see here, this short wave, as we call it, this upper level trough, moving on in and probably producing some wet weather Thursday night into early Friday. By the way, just as a reminder, how many of you remember we were talking about this just last week, about the fact that the GFS, the model that we're showing you now, was suggesting or indicating that we might have a big snowstorm later on in the week. Remember that? I suppose here that upper level system, remember at last week, the GFS had positioned this upper level low pressure system not up here, but down here off the Delmarva coastline and producing a massive snowstorm. The setup was for 1 to 2 feet of snow for this Thursday and Friday. That was based upon last week's GFS run. Obviously, that was not going to come to pass. Now, as we see it, that placement of the upper level storm is way to our north, and all we're going to see here now is not snow, but Thursday night into Friday, maybe a bit of wet weather as that disturbance passes on through and passes on by. This is for 2 o'clock on Friday, and as it passes off to the north and east, we go back into a building ridge of high pressure. Now, you may remember I just mentioned that we had a bit of snow Saturday night into early Sunday, not too far from the New York metropolitan area, off to our south and west. Now, notice, if you will, this is for Saturday morning, and we have this flow of air, northwesterly winds ushering in a chillier airflow for the upcoming weekend, Saturday into Sunday. But it's a ridge, it's a building ridge of high pressure. Not something you would look for if you're hoping for any kind of snow or any kind of precipitation. As we move into Saturday afternoon, still building in with high pressure, sunny to partly cloudy skies. And then as we move into Sunday night, into Saturday night into early Sunday, look right here. Can you see that little bend or little ripple in the upper level winds right over here over Illinois and Indiana? That's right smack in the middle of a ridge of high pressure. So this little disturbance, this little ripple of of low pressure, trying to ripple eastward into a zone of relatively high pressure, high barometric pressure readings. And as we get into Sunday morning, here's that ripple, but notice it's beginning to flatten out some. And as we get into Sunday afternoon, it is flattened out even more. So, if things were a little bit different, if we had more in terms of a low pressure trough here, this little ripple in the atmosphere would have a better chance to develop some and maybe push into our area and bring us a chance for precipitation or maybe snow for Saturday night into Sunday. But because there's so much in the way of high pressure, this big ridge here in the Great Lakes area, this little ripple really doesn't have much to go with or hang its hat on, so to speak. So it ripples eastward, flattens out, and pretty much is gone by the time we get to Sunday afternoon and evening. And then high pressure builds back into our area, setting the stage for some nice weather from later Sunday on into Monday of next week. In short, if you're a snow lover, once again, no chance, no possibility of any kind of system that might bring us any kind of significant snowfall in our area. Let me see if I can bring up another map here, and this map. Let me see right here. There we go. Sorry about that little technical problem. This map is the map that Joe Chiaffi often shows during the course of his talk about the polar vortex and the reason why we are not seeing much in terms of any kind of cold air this winter season. There you go. This is the map for 10 millibars. This is way up in the upper stratospheric layers of the atmosphere. Here's the polar vortex, and the polar vortex is right where you expect it to be, right over the North Pole. But it is kind of like a bottle of seltzer, if you will. It is a seltzer bottle with a tight cap on it, and this cap we have not been able to find a way to uncork the bottle or screw off the cap. This is where all the cold weather has been through most of this winter season, right over the polar regions. Occasionally we get a spillage of a little bit of colder air coming southward, bringing us some semblance of winter weather. But as we move things forward in time, this is now for this evening at 8 p.m. Notice, if you will, as I move things along, that polar vortex, very stubborn, remaining up in the polar regions. No sign of it ever, coming southward. And in fact, it looks like with time, as we continue into the latter part of the month, now we're into officially astronomical spring. This is the 24th of March, and you see this zone of red here, not necessarily coinciding with any warm weather, but a buildup of high pressure over in Siberia. But again, this polar vortex remaining in place well to our north and not really allowing much in turn of any kind of cold air to work its way into our region. In fact, the Climate Prediction Center is saying that we're going to continue to have unseasonably mild temperatures right on through perhaps the end of the month of March and into the early part of April. That may be the final nail in the coffin for all of you winter weather lovers for this particular year. It does not look like it's going to be changing anytime soon toward a colder weather regime, nor a regime that would support any kind of snow. If you want to see snow, as I mentioned earlier, you might want to jump in the car on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and head on down toward southeast Pennsylvania, Amish country, or maybe into northern Virginia. You might get a touch of snow down there, but it does not look like we're going to be seeing much of anything up here in terms of cold or snow in the foreseeable next few days, and maybe even right on through the rest of this so-called winter season. I'm just going to push my lens cap down now. The screen has gone black temporarily, but I'm doing that to reposition the camera toward yours truly. And in a moment, you'll see my lovely mug on your screen. But also, it gives me an opportunity to take a look at the chat board, see who's on the chat board now, and get a chance to chat with all of you and answer whatever questions you may have, and see who's on for this Tuesday, the 10th of March. Okay, let me open the chat board up and the lens cap. There we go. How are you, everybody? We have Daniello Evangelista on. Scott Briller, good evening to you. I didn't forget, Scott, that note that you had told me about the very first episode of the Flintstones coming on Meat TV at 6:30 tonight. Of course, I have to make a choice here between watching that very first episode of the Flintstones and also watching the evening news and seeing what's going on in the world. But we all know what's going on in the world, the stock market, the coronavirus. This is also a primary day in some parts of the United States as the two main Democratic presidential candidates go head to head with each other. So a lot happening this evening for television viewers. James, nice to see you. Hi, my phone is almost dead and won't be able to watch till later. All right. Daniela says maybe to be thunderstorms. I don't think so, Daniela. I don't think we're going to see any convective activity this evening, even though we do have a weather front moving on through, and it is kind of unstable. Dennis Cassie is on. How are you, Dennis? And let's see who else. Tim Veltman. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, I missed the start. Was out in the kitchen. Well, Tim, if you were looking for it at start at 5 o'clock, we didn't start at 5. Again, I had some issues and didn't get going until 7 after 5. But it's nice to have you on board nonetheless. And let's see, who else do we have here? Tim wants to say, dare I say, I think that the storm over the weekend will dry up to mostly flurries and showers east of the Poconos and Laurel Highlands. It could very well do that, Tim. We showed on the upper air that there is absolutely no support for that system. And so it does not look like it's going to hold together much. A cheap throw for maybe some of you snow lovers, again, in parts of Northern Virginia, Maryland, and Southeast Pennsylvania, but it doesn't look like it's the handwriting is not on the wall for us. As we continue here, let's see who else is on. Latex Dreams, how are you? Norm Roberts, hi from Bangor, Pennsylvania. Latex Dreams, Chiaffi doing show or Flintstones? I don't know. I have not heard from Chiaffi. Joe may very well be leaving the Sunshine State. He may be leaving Florida this evening, in which case I don't think we'll have a Joe and Joe at 7 o'clock. We'll probably pass on that and hold off until either tomorrow or on Thursday as Joe works its way back up north to our neck of the woods by later on in the week. As far as Bobby Lingsworth, how do you? Nice to see you on tonight. And again, if you have not already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joe Rayo Weather on YouTube. We're trying to reach 1,000. We've kind of slowed in recent days here. We shot up into the 600s a few weeks ago, but we've been very slow on making much headway. At least let's try to get us up to 700, and then we'll work our way up to 700, 800, 900, and hopefully we'll reach that magic 1,000 mark in the days and weeks to come. David McLean, any severe weather anytime soon for the Northeast? I really don't see it, David, not in the immediate future. Scott Briller says, hypothetical, how do you think the models would have handled the blizzard of 1888? That's a good question. That is a good question. I'm sure that they probably would have shown within a few days of the event the digging, the dynamics of that system, how it suddenly just intensified dramatically over a span of only a couple of days into the storm system that brought, again, record snows, frigidly cold temperatures, and very strong and gusty winds. I think the models probably would have done a pretty good job, pretty bang up job. The question is, how far in advance would they have done in foretelling that storm? Would they have had it on the radar, so to speak, no pun intended, a week in advance or maybe 10 days in advance? Or would it have been something that it just within only a few days of the event suddenly emerged into view? It would be rather interesting to ponder that, but I'm sure that it would have done a good job. And let's see, today is the 10th, so I'm sure that the actual storm began on the 11th across parts of the Northeast. So if this were 1888, maybe I would be telling you or warning you about this incredibly strong storm system, which would be bringing us lots of snow, lots of cold, lots of wind. But it's quite a different story now. All of these years later, for us, it has been, again, almost a non-winter because, again, all that cold air has been bottled, so to speak, with the polar vortex up over the polar regions, and has made for not much of a winter season for us. Scott Briller has mentioned this, and I will mention it again, that in the cases where we've had winters like this here in the I-95 corridor in the Northeast, where there's been a paucity of snow, we have had quite a comeback the following year. Let's see, we have a case of, let's say, in 2002 and in 1981 and 1971, excuse me, in 2002, 1973, 2002, I think also it was 1982. Those years where we had a lack of any significant snowfall, less than 5 inches of snow. The very next year, we have had cases where we've had 30, 40 inches or more of snow. So in other words, if this pans out and if this goes along that line, not so much snow this year, but maybe next year we will more than make up for it. At least that's been the story with situations like this year, where we've had not much in the way of snow, less than 5 inches at Central Park. The next year, the year that followed, we had a considerable amount of snow, much, much more in the way of snowfall. Maybe that'll be this case next year. And as I said before, the way the Brooklyn Dodger fans used to say, wait till next year. If you're a snow lover, maybe wait till next year. That might be your year too. Let's see, what else? Latex Dream says, Canada's claimed the cold. Scott says, I hope that the 20s don't resemble the 70s and 80s. And I lived through the 70s and 80s. And back in the 70s, especially, I was a big, big snow lover. I really enjoyed snow. And in the 70s, the only 2 years we could really rejoice was 1978 and 79. 78, of course, the year of the two big storms. One in January, the 20th, and the big blizzard of 78 on February 5th and 6th. And in 1979, we had the President's Day storm. That was a biggie as well. But most of the 70s and into the 80s saw, more often than not, years where we had very little in terms of snow to get excited about. And then things kind of flipped over. Now, this decade, the last 10 or 15 years, more often than not, we've seen well above normal snowfall totals. And years like this have been few and far between. So like I said, maybe we will see something big happen next year. But this year, it has been anything but in terms of snow and also in terms of cold weather. We have a Dewey Dodo snow this weekend. Not here, Dewey, unless you're down in Pennsylvania or Northern Virginia or parts of Maryland. Um, Bobby Livingsworth says 1990s, 1980s were not a great year for snow, a great decade for snow lovers, and I would agree. We had that one year, 1982, where we had a blizzard on the 6th of April. That stood out. And I think 1983 we had a significant snowfall. I'm not sure in February or March, but again, like the 70s, the 80s too were not very good to snow lovers. Tim Beltman, just time for the youngsters to see what a stretch of lackluster snow years look like. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Dewey Dodo says he is in the Dakotas. At least that's where I think he is. And they certainly have had more than their fair share of snow and also cold weather. In fact, the western part of the country, these next 6 to 10 days, will be seeing rather cold weather as opposed to here in the east, where we're going to be, again, above normal temperature wise. Daniello and Evangelista, along this will be the hurricane season, very active. Well, we're due for a La Nina later this year. If we do get a La Nina, usually in La Nina years, we have higher than normal levels of tropical cyclone activity, tropical storms and hurricanes. So maybe that'll be the story later this year in September and October and maybe late August. We shall see. We could get a springtime surprise. I don't know about springtime surprises in terms of winter weather. I was saying up until recently, I thought that maybe we might have a bookended winter. We had our one big storm, winter storm, on the 1st of December of this year. And I said maybe at the end of March or the beginning of April, we might have another bookend major storm. That doesn't look like it's going to be the case. It looks like now it's looking more and more like we're going to be on our way toward, what else can I tell you? Just mild weather and showery weather, not snowy weather. At least that's how it looks in the present state of things as we move forward. All right, I'm going to pretty well end this right now. I've been going along for about 32 minutes. And again, for those of you who are not subscribers to Joe Ray Weather here on YouTube, please do subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. And thank all of you for watching again this evening. And we'll be back tomorrow, probably again, right around 5 o'clock to talk about, who knows? We haven't had much to talk about in terms of any kind of significant storm or any significant breakout of snow or cold weather. But we'll be back here tomorrow to give you another weather discussion, another short fused update in any case. And again, I thank you all. One last look at the chat board. Dennis Cassie is still on. Daniello Evangelista, who says, I give up with snow. I am moving on to hurricane season and severe weather. There you go, Daniello. Let's work on something else now, because I don't think we're going to see much chance of any more snow this upcoming rest of this season. That also reminds me, I'll have to start the snowblower. I've been doing that on a monthly basis, the darn thing a workout. Haven't had much to do. I've only used it twice this season, and may have to just start it up again just to, again, get everything going with it. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I've only used it twice, and I could remember some years up here in Putnam Valley, I've used it something like 8, 9, 10, 12 times. This year, not to be. In fact, for the first time since I've been up here in Putnam Valley, the snow amount that I have had here has been less than 10 inches. This will be my first year in Putnam Valley that I never even got into double digits in terms of snow accumulation. That is truly amazing to me. We've had years up here where we've had 50, 60, 70 inches of snow. This year, we're at 9.7 inches. That's amazing. That's incredible. All right, going to shut it down right now. Thanks very much for watching here on this Tuesday. You make it a great rest of your Tuesday. Make it a great hump day tomorrow. And we'll be back with you again probably tomorrow along about 5 o'clock as I shut things down. Here we go. Thank you very much, and we'll be talking to you soon. Adios, everybody.